Hey, what is going on? You are watching and listening as well to Tags Live. I'm your host, Steve V, alongside Cody Maurice Doggett. How are you today?
Hello, doing well. I'm doing well. It's a rainy Wednesday here in New York, but I'm maintaining. I'm keeping it tight. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We want to welcome, we're here every single Wednesday night on the Get Vocal platform, and we are part of the Connection Zone, which is about relationships, love, sex, and all the good stuff that we somehow fit into, and we're happy to be here. Like I said, here every Wednesday night. We're also on our YouTube channel, which I will check in a minute to see if you have comments over there, as well as on our Facebook page. And one of the things that we love about this show is that it's our live interactive show. So we welcome you on, if you're on the Get Vocal platform, which is what we prefer, you can actually comment in real time as we are going through some of these hot gay sex topics, divulging our own personal stories. So feel free to weigh in and we will hit you up. Maybe Cody will in more ways than one. So, first of all, we got to get started. And election night ended up being election week, Cody. And Saturday night, you and I celebrated into the night. And we started the night as everybody was partying in the streets. We culminated later on that evening, and we were going to definitely watch the Biden-Harris speech, but we had tickets to Kylie Minogue, which was so much fun, and it was the same time as the Biden-Harris speech, but we figured we're going to record the speeches, get back to it afterwards, and we're definitely going to party and dance like it's 1999, which we did. Yeah. How much fun did you have watching the Kylie Minogue concert or special, whichever it was, on Saturday night?
So much fun. I'm even Instagram of us, pictures of us dancing, videos of us dancing and singing along Kylie songs all week. Not Kylie Jenner, Kylie Minogue songs all week long. You got to make that distinction. People are like, Kylie who? Which Kylie? What Kylie? I'm like, really, girl?
Exactly. It was so much fun. Her brand new album, Disco, just came out on Friday, which dropped. It's really good. It's exactly what I feel we needed at this time. And then on top of finding out that Biden and Harris won, we were just, like you said, jam into it. And then we watched the speeches, and then we went to the New York Eagle here in New York City and continued the partying going on over there, which was so much fun. How much fun did you have going out that night?
So much fun. I don't remember half of the night.
Yeah.
That's how much fun it was.
Exactly. In a lot of ways, it felt like the gay pride that we didn't get this gay pride year that we were able to celebrate with the election, all this pent up energy, all the uncertainty with COVID and everything else. I felt like this was kind of an all bundled into one day. And boy, I felt it Sunday, but it was all really worth it. And I was so happy for it. Yeah.
It just felt really good to have that release and just there's been so much tension going on. So it felt good to have a release that night. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, a couple of news things that we wanted to let you know, which you may or may not know, is some of the bad news about COVID is that it's estimated that there's 1 million new cases by the end of the year of COVID, which is not looking good. I, for one, this is a show you get to know us a little bit more. I, for one, normally I go home to California to be with my family and friends for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. I decided to stay put. I'm just going to do a party for one over here and make a turkey sandwich and call it a day. And I mean, I'll have fun, but and the other news is, the good news though, is there may be a vaccine as early as April 2021, which is really that would mean everything if it was that soon, right?
Yeah, that would be so exciting. Vaccine came that soon. I was hoping it would be soon, but I mean, April is around the corner. Here's hoping.
Absolutely. And the other piece of good news is that the CDC just ruled that wearing your mask may actually save you and protect you. You know, in the past, the CDC was saying that you wear your mask for your neighbor, your person that you come in contact with, and we still do that, which I've always done that. I know you do that, Cody. But now it's saying that it actually might protect you. And that's a really good thing, I think.
Yes, for sure.
So there's been some good news, but we got to like really hunker down because we're in the middle of this fall and we're going right into winter with all of this. On some good news, finally, to wrap up this, we had Brian Bennett on last week, and Brian was talking about his portable glory hole called the Porta Glory. And
yes, I remember.
I really think if you're going to stay, I'm getting mine soon, and I'm going to implement this. And you and I were talking offline on how we feel that you can actually it's almost like when we used to talk about safer sex. Remember when they were talking about condom usage with HIV prevention? I feel like this, if you have somebody that you are sleeping with, you have that one person maybe, and you're keeping in contact with that one person. You're not doing like full-on orgies. I feel Brian created a product, a portable glory hole that you can put on any bathroom, and he can custom make it for you. I'm going to implement this during my holiday season. Instead of Tinseltoe, I'm putting up the portable glory hole.
Nice.
And you guys can get $20 off. He is giving it by being a Tags listener. And all you got to do is go to portaglory.club, CUCLUB. And at checkout, just mention that you heard about it from Tagspodcast, and you'll get $20 off. I think they would make a really, really great gift for Christmas and kind of a safer COVID holiday season for all of you guys. So check that out, the portaglory.club, and get $20 off. Well, let's get into this week. And again, we'll be checking of your comments, so feel free to weigh in on hot gay sex topics and a lot of the things we're going to be talking about. We have a virtual voices part 2 where we're going to be talking about our sex organs. I hope you have a cocktail like we do. Exactly. So a big one. Yes, exactly. Well, our first story kind of comes that we wanted to talk about before we get into virtual voices had to do with, and you guys are going to roll your eyes, but it had to do with something I saw on E! Entertainment, and you guys have all heard of Scott Disick from the Kardashians, right? Well, Scott Disick was out recently with Lisa Rinna's daughter, who's 19 years old. Scott Disick is 37. And it got me thinking about age differences and what we think about that. Now, he's 37, she's 19. And on top of that, to make this story well-rounded and bring it back to us, because we always bring it back to us, and because we're me-centered, is over the weekend, in my celebration weekend, I went out to a brunch on Sunday. And my friend, she invited me. She had her 20-year-old nephew who's gay and his best friend who just turned 21. Adorable. One of which I found he's got his head on his shoulder. He's doing so much with his life. He's creative. He's talented. He's a poet. And I was like, wow, this kid is really got it together. The other one, on the other hand, showed up an hour late to the brunch, was kind of not participating in the conversation, was interested more in talking to his best friend. Whenever he did, he seemed sort of aloof, didn't really seem to have his shit together. Now, I can go back to when I was 21, and I don't know that I necessarily had all my shit together, but I had dreams and goals. And whenever I came across my elders, if you will, I always had I had a respect, I feel. Yeah. But in having brunch with these two guys that were gay and 2021, I don't think that I could date at least these guys that I was with. So here's Scott out with a 19-year-old. Could you date, because you've been going on a lot of dates, Cody, recently in this COVID quarantine.
Outside,
but socially
I've been going on a lot of
outside, dates. Yeah. Let's clarify
and let the people know.
Do you have an age limit, and is there too young? And have you ever been on a date with somebody that was really young where you thought, oh, I can do this, or no?
I have two different thresholds for engaging with people that are younger than me. As far as I have a 24 to 25, depending on how old they look, for hit it and quit it types. Ooh. So if I'm just having sex, then it's 24 to 25. That's the cutoff right there, because they have to look like, I like a more mature look. So that's it. That's when I feel like you look more manly. Go ahead.
When you say hit it, so you've got like this 24-year-old guy, and it's about hit it or quit it. So it's about sex, right?
It's about sex.
Okay,
it's all about sex.
I'll follow up on that in a minute, and because I can go with you on this. Keep going.
And if I'm going to be engaging in a person in a relationship, they have to be in their 30s, because and that is depending upon their emotional 30. Exactly, or minimum 30, but generally in their 30s, because they have to be, but that is incumbent on their emotional maturity, amongst other things. But basically, their emotional maturity.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you in a lot of that. What you said about hit it and quit it, which I like that. Mm-hmm. I have actually come across some young 20-year-olds that I met out and about, and I was like, okay, now, and we hit it and quit it.
And that's one of them. It was what it is.
One of them that comes to my mind. I was thinking about this. I was getting ready for y'all. And this boy, he was a construction worker. Does it get better than that? And he was about 22 or so, from Jersey, I believe. Am I like painting a good bit?
Just far away.
Yeah, he had a really great body. We hit it and quit it, the way you say. Mm-hmm. I was actually intrigued to want to know more, and I was almost going to blow up his phone a little bit because I was kind of enamored by him. It didn't go any further, and when we did try and get together a couple times, and not get together on a date, but just kind of meet up the next few times, mm-hmm. It was always difficult. It always was going through hoops on his end, I felt, mm-hmm. which speaks to oftentimes that 20-year-old mentality. Now, I can go somebody at my age, and I'm pushing a certain age myself, but there is something to be said about dating somebody. Mm-hmm. And I do think no 20-year-old is like the next 20-year-old. They're all different. Mm-hmm. But in general, I do think, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I could have gone on a date for sure, but I could have carried on a conversation, but I was so trying to figure out so many things.
Exactly.
But I definitely could have been respectful, and I could have hung out. I could have gone to a restaurant. I could have looked the part. I could have carried on a conversation for sure. It just doesn't mean that I was then going to be there for you to go on this consecutive dating pattern. Yeah. What do you have to say? Do you agree?
I agree with you. Unfortunately, they just don't have the life experience that someone of our age has. And I think that Scott is kind of preying on their naivete. When I get it out, it'll be okay. But it's also really hard for me because I get hit on a lot by 20-year-olds. You get hit on a lot by 20-year-olds, younger people. They can't even go out to drink.
Not as much as I wish, but to hit it and quit it.
Hit it and quit it.
I wish. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. What of our anybody have anything to say so far? I'm
Jen
gonna
showed up. She's here with Queen,
yay.
and hi to Greg as well.
Hi.
And
Okay,
Jen
great.
says that all 20-year-olds are stupid and they know nothing but think they know everything. Oh, there it is. They think they have so much life experience when they actually have very little life experience. I'm not going to say no life experience because, like you said, every 20-year-old is different.
Exactly. So I agree with you guys. And yeah, that's just what it is. Well,
So if you're 24 to 25, slide in the DMs, okay?
yes, absolutely. We welcome you guys. We are not putting standards on that. They cute though, Jen says. I agree.
Mhm.
Well, let's get on to this week's Virtual Voices. It's a segment we've done since the beginning of Tags Live. It's where we get very intimate about our sex lives, about our insecurities, about the things that may or may not plague us as LGBTQ plus people that maybe we want to kind of bring to the surface. And last week on Virtual Voices, we barely dived into our sex organs, the actual organs, and we barely got into it because we got so caught up in the nipples. And even Brian Bennett, our special guest, was talking about the insecurities that he felt growing up with about his nipples, too.
Mhm.
Well, we thought since we barely dug into the surface at all, we were going to jackhammer into it this week and go to part two.
Good
And
choice of words there.
yes, exactly. Mainly because they're outside my building right now at 2 a.m. every night,
Oh.
jackhammering, and I want to be jackhammered by that 20-year-old. Da da da. Anyways, let's get into it. Where is he? Where is he? Oh, but
Find them. I can find them for you for sure. You know, I'm an internet detective.
exactly. You know, my first thought about our sex organs really comes to the bodies that we encompass and that we embody. And a friend of ours that's been on our show recently was Corey Harmon was texting me a picture the other day of him naked, and he brought
Oh.
up, and it got something in my mind that got me thinking about just the bodies we inhabit. And he said something that I related to. He said, finally, I feel comfortable being naked. I've been working out and I feel comfortable being naked again. Well, we've seen Corey naked before. I have for sure. And I think he looks great all the time. Many of us have not been on our normal routines, or we get off of our routines of working out. And as we age, body often can define, right or wrong, how we feel about ourselves and what we want to actually put forward in social media. And I kind of related to what he was stating in that, whether or not you agree with me or not, or you think it's vanity. And actually, cutting to my brunch with one of those 20-year-olds the other day, they were saying, "Oh, you're quite vain," is what one of them said to me. And I said, "I
What?
am very vain. Thank you very much." And I own it. So, but
I look at
anyways,
it more as pride, more than vanity.
yeah, hmm
Yeah,
I agree. And,
that's how I
but
like to relate to it.
do you worry or think about what your body looks like when you're posting on social media? And does it have an effect on, say, ooh, I'm not comfortable with how I am right now. Let me work out a little bit more before I start posting? Because this is something I deal with all the time.
Yeah, constantly. I was waiting for you to finish the question. I already have my answer after the second word.
Vanessa Williams, constantly. Album number one.
I have pride in my body. I do things to make my body look a certain way. I work out. I'm working out 4 times a week now. So, but there was a time in quarantine where if it didn't have the right lighting, if it didn't have the right positioning, I wasn't posting that picture because it didn't reflect the image that I wanted to present of myself. And I think we get caught up with that image a whole bunch.
I agree.
And we need to be comfortable with our bodies at any weight, at any age, because as you age, your body changes. Do you know that?
Well, I have a very big birthday coming up in
Okay.
January. In January, in like 8 weeks, I turn 50, and
You look
I, of
amazing.
course, thank you. But you know, it always comes down to how you feel. And in my
Exactly.
mind, I want to look a certain way on my 50th, and of course, I want to
Hmm.
take pictures and I want to post them. And it just so happens, given the pandemic, that it's kind of working out for me. Like you, I've been working out 4 days a week. I'm back at it. I feel like for my birthday, I want to look a certain way, and I'm not going home to California to eat my mom's cookies and my mom's cooking that I always would indulge in. And it is a big deal, but then on another note, I'm going to do what I can do, and it is going to be what it is. And this isn't how I planned on spending my 50th birthday in January.
Hmm.
I'm kind of going to make do with it and do something a lot smaller. So obviously my body and where I'm at, it is going to be what it is. And I
Yes.
always have that running in my head too, that I'm I hang out with my former personal trainer that gives me a lot of motivation for my body in general. And I'm also thinking, well, they're saying April, there might be a new vaccine out. So maybe
Hmm.
that's part two of how I want to look. And I think these
Yeah.
are good goals to have as long as they don't consume us,
Yeah.
essentially.
I
Yeah.
agree with you. You can't let your image of yourself over for how you want to live your life. You can't be a shut-in just because you are not comfortable with the way that you have to live your life no matter what. And you're going to have a body regardless. So be happy with the body that you're in. Work to have the body that you want, definitely 100%. But love the body that you're in at all times. And I love to be naked.
Well, we're going to talk more about being naked in a little bit in one of our hot gay sex topics a
Oh,
little
okay. All
later
right.
in this
I'll put that
show.
a pin in that one.
We put a pin in it. Put a ring on it. But you know, do you ultimately think, Cody? Because I've said on the show before that I'm a size queen in general, but
Okay.
ultimately, do you think it really matters in the sheets? In other words, if you meet somebody that you connect with sexually, whether it's hit and to quit it or somebody you're actually romantically involved with, do you think all that thing about your body and where you're at and what you actually like in somebody else's body, organ wise, if they have a nice ass or a big dick, does it ultimately matter in the sheets, or are you kind of do you hold those principles and like, no, they have to have this and I need to look a certain way when we get in the sheets?
There have been times when I have been heavier that when I went to go hook up with somebody, I couldn't. I mean, I could get it up, but it was really uncomfortable for me to get naked, honestly. And I
Really?
didn't necessarily love the way that my body looked at that certain point. So it was uncomfortable. And he picked up on it. And so we kind of just squashed the whole thing. And he said, I think it's time for you to go. And I said, I think it is too. So, yes. And I have mentioned before me having penis envy as far as when I was hooking up with that guy who was a bottom and his dick was bigger than me and I was supposed to top. So there are times when you let the image of yourself and what you think that it's supposed to be like he just wanted the dick. He didn't care how big it was. And personally, I know how to work it. So that
And
matters more. But I let the image of what I thought it was going to be get to how I perform sexually.
I was going to say that, have you heard, which I told you before, of big dick bottoms? And
Yeah.
often they're just big dick bottoms. So you just got to get used to that and maybe film it and have that thing flop around as you do your thing that you like to do. Audience, can I get an amen?
Was doing an OnlyFans if I didn't one. I did not. That did not come out of my mouth. But if we win Georgia, I'll consider it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our parts that we are talking about, I wrote some notes here. And in terms of your ass and what you like in somebody else's
here we
ass,
go.
let's just talk about, do you like your ass shaved? And what do you prefer in the guy that you're with? Shaved, or do you mind some hair there?
I love all asses that are plump and beautiful and delicious. Hair, no hair, every shade, every color. I love a nice ass, a nice
supple.
Supple is the perfect word.
Like your turkey on Thanksgiving.
I love a nice ham, 2 hams in your pants ass. I love it. My ass is not what you would call supple. It's a nice. I have a little bubble going on, but it's a little bubble. But I like the hair on my ass to be trimmed to a length for sure. I have tried to have my ass clean shaven, and it did not work out for me. I broke out, fortunately. So, yeah. I just love all asses. And story.
Well, and
what about you?
In just a second, you're going to hear from our sponsor, Manscaped, on how you can keep it clean down there. And
he does me right as far as my ass is concerned.
Stay tuned for that, because you can get 20% off our sponsor, and it's a really good deal, particularly in this Christmas time. Yeah, I mean, I try and keep clean, and I think that if you're keeping your body intact, you often can look better. I don't have a lot of hair, so I often will trim underneath my arms and in that area. I don't know if it's lucky, but the ones you do get when you don't have a lot of hair, you want to like trim that up too. But I find it more about how I want to present myself, because to me, when I'm in the sheets, oftentimes I find it's chemistry, and the chemistry has less to do with the size of this or that. I think if two people are really connected, they're going to make it happen.
Yes, they are.
And sparks are going to fly, and all that stuff that I've been talking about goes out the door. Size queen, the hair, what I feel about my body at the moment, even if I'm on a high with my body, those are great things to have goals to work for, I feel. But when it comes to being in the sheets and when you're in the moment with somebody, and it reminds me of a guy I was seeing not too long ago that said, ultimately, you can do all you want, but you want to look somewhat good, right? And put your best foot forward. But ultimately, it's an attitude, it's a chemistry that you have with somebody else that's ultimately what gets the sexual energy going between you and somebody else, that I think is unstoppable, irregardless of everything else, I think, at times. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree?
Completely agree. Once chemistry comes through the door, everything else goes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although I will say, and since we were just on the topic of butts, I feel like I have neglected my butt as an erogenous zone. I don't even know if my prostate has been hit.
Really? Well, you need to practice over this holiday season. And and I'm just going to take this moment.
Any tips?
Before we talk about our next sponsor, Manscaped, our other sponsor that can help you, Cody, get in touch with your ass is with toys, but you can use lube, and I'm talking pure lube.
Yes,
And they
so
have
good.
some of the, what I love about Pure is they have backdoor for ass play. They have backdoor silicone, backdoor water base, backdoor. I'm holding the concentrated silicone personal lubricant, which can be a lot of fun when you're playing with yourself, getting to know your own prostate, Cody.
Yes.
And right now, this makes a great Christmas present, and you can get 20% off by using our promo code. Go to pjur.us, and at checkout, just put in Talk Gay Sex in the code Talk Gay Sex, and you get 20% off. This will make a great, great, great Christmas presents, stocking stuffers, and all that. So, like Cody, you
I know what
can
to get
get
you.
in touch with your prostate. This is your homework assignment for the holiday season. All right. Well,
Touch my
let's move
body,
on.
like Mariah said.
Touch my body. I don't know why you always got me singing. Let's get into some. This is just for our radio show. Take a break, and we're coming right back. Okay, and we're back.
And we're
That's just quickly for our recorded show. So we are back. Let's get into some hot gay sex topics. And Cody, you and I are talking offline, and we have so many of them on this episode. And you know what? The first one I'm just reading, the first openly gay justice of California. California has confirmed its first openly gay justice in the state's Supreme Court. The Commission on Judicial Appointments unanimously confirmed Justice Martin Jenkins on Tuesday, praising him for his brilliant intellect, first-class temperament, and boundless humanity. And Governor Gavin Newsom nominated Jenkins last month to replace Justice Ming Chin, who retired on August 31st during a news conference. Jenkins said his identity as a gay man has been perhaps the greatest challenge of his life. Jenkins, who is also Black, joins a diverse court that includes Justice Leonardo Kruger, who is also Black, Justice Mariano Florentino Cuellar, who is Latino, two Asian Americans, as well as a white justice, Joshua Groban. So it's nice because we often forget about these smaller courts across the country that Trump and the administration has packed, and we need some of these places to be placed like this one. So congratulations to him. I think it's really amazing, and we had to
congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bespoke Surgical, and otherwise known as Dr. Goldstein, who's been on our show before, Tagspodcast, the Ask Doctor, the Good Ask Doctor, recently came out with a poll about gay sex and sex positivity and sex toys. And they found some really amazing, they wanted to find out how much are we really spending on sex toys or sex products in a year. And in general, what they notice is over the last several years, we've become more comfortable about sex positivity, which I think in general is a really good thing. And I know, Cody, you read the story as well. Yep. And I'm going to put the whole thing, the link on tagspodcast.com tomorrow so you can read it.
Perfect.
But there were some really great findings, I think, that they found about facts about sex product spending. And their study, just so you know, is a survey of 2,300 people. Single people spend 3.5% less on sex products annually than people in relationships. Here's 44.2% purchase some sort of fetish gear annually. Interesting. 22.3% don't purchase lube or other sex care products. All right, get on our Pure. Really? Get on our Pure here.
High. I know, right?
30.9% spend less than $50 annually on sex toys, and 41.9% spend zero on contraception annually, because they did it for gay, lesbian, and bi people in general. So they surveyed people, and as it turns out, 41.9% of Americans spend zero on contraception annually, which we knew that. The summary is the average of U.S. citizens spends on average $150 to $250 on sex products annually. What did you think of that finding?
Okay.
And do you spend about that much yearly, Cody?
I fall into that category. Probably on the lower spectrum, though.
Yeah. On
Yeah,
toys?
I love a good harness. I love a good fetish, any fetish gear. I bought a body harness this year, and just that alone was almost $200. So,
Yeah, I agree. I spent a lot of money on harnesses and leather. You know, the 10 states that spend the most on sex products are Connecticut, of all states, right? Followed by
Connecticut now.
Yeah, followed by California, Nevada, Arkansas, Illinois, Mississippi, Massachusetts, South Carolina, Texas, and Washington.
Mhm.
And the 10, I wanted to read a couple others. This is interesting, which you would fall under. The states that spend the most on fetish gear are Connecticut, again, at 78.9%. California at 60. Yeah, California at 62.5, New York at 60.3%, Texas following behind, Nevada, Kentucky, South Carolina, Maryland, Tennessee, and Louisiana. So that makes sense because like you, Cody, a good harness is a good minimum 80 to $100 if you're getting a good one. And fetish gear can get up there. So a few other facts what did you think about some of those findings that you heard, Cody?
I thought it was great. Study was done, isn't it, after Queen? That's when they did the
say it again. You went out just there for a second.
Sorry, that's when they conducted the study, right?
I believe it's a recent study. Yeah, it didn't. Yeah. I don't know that it really said. Yeah.
We're in touch with the like that.
I think we're losing Cody a little bit here on our feed. Well, I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Let me just see. Are you there, Cody? Jen, I'm just going to read. Jen says, I'm surprised Florida isn't on that list because there are sex shops everywhere. Really, Jen? That is interesting. Yeah. I'm surprised they're not on that list either. You know, their thing that they did was 2,300 people. So go ahead, Cody. As well as strip clubs.
Okay,
yeah. Are people going to these strip clubs though? Are people going to these strip clubs though right now? And are they open in this pandemic? They are, Jess says. Wow. Okay. You know, there was a couple stories that I saw of strip clubs that were doing social distancing, which I thought was kind of cool, where you can even order food, see a dancer in your car, almost like drive-in, like Biden, watching the speeches, and get your food and get on out. Cody, are you back with us?
I think I'm back. Are we good?
Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Their Bespoke Surgical did a really good study, and I would invite you to check it out. I'm going to put it on tagspodcast.com. Let's get on to our next story, which this one had Cody all riled up. It has
incensed.
to do...
I hope my Wi-Fi stays through what I have to say.
Exactly. So Andrew Christian, which... if you all know Andrew Christian, they make a lot of sexy wear, a lot like the shirt I'm wearing right now or what Cody's wearing. Andrew Christian uses models of color is the Advocate's storyline to advertise quote, slave harness. So the underwear company offers both a harness and an underwear brief emphasized with the word slave and uses a person of color to model them. And they didn't really, their whole thing was they were going on master and slave. So as you accurately, so Jeff White, the co-founder of Andrew Christian, told The Advocate that the images of the model will immediately be replaced in response to the complaint. And here's the full statement. As you accurately noted in your article, our master and slave harnesses and underwear only reference the master and slave terminology of the BDSM culture and has nothing to do with anything else. We sincerely apologize if anyone finds the image of the model offensive, and we will replace it immediately. Andrew Christian is drawing criticism for a slave line of men's underwear. And it took a reader of The Advocate that they named Gabriel, who withheld his last name, obviously for privacy concerns, flagged the slave net C-ring harness, is what they're calling it, product as offensive in a recent email to the retailer. Gabriel took particular issue with a model of color being used to advertise the harness on andrewchristian.com. Quote, it's actually tasteless, he wrote in a customer complaint. I can't understand why you would put a person of color in an outfit that says the word slave. Gabriel asked the company to remove or change the product to avoid a racist association. Andrew Christian replied to Gabriel Mondays, quoting, thank you for your suggestion. We have passed this along to our production team for review. And as of late, it hasn't been removed off the site. The one thing that first came to my mind is, why do they have how did this go through Andrew Christian and the marketing team and even the brand to name something slave? Many of us in the LGBTQ world know the BDSM culture, but it's often quoted as BDSM culture. You often hear terms more, at least that we talk about on this show, as dom, sub, within that parameter. And one of the things that we've always talked about on this show, when we've had Master Joshua, for example, on our show, is the parameters that dom and master situation can occur. It's often you have to check in with that person and you have to create these parameters so that it does not go crazy and get out of control. But you don't often hear the term slave just thrown around. And I find it odd, Cody, that they let a whole naming of a harness line
of
go
a whole
out,
line of an entire line,
slave, and then on top of that, put a person of color, which it's cut off. So you can definitely tell it's a person of color, whether they're black, Latin, Indian, Middle Eastern, Italian, I don't know. Somehow they're a person of color and they call it the slave line. How did that get through in your mind, the line? And what were your thoughts?
I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous and it's tasteless, especially when in a time of Black Lives Matter. It's so tone deaf to what is going on in the world right now. Like, read the room, Andrew Christian. And it just goes to show, like you were saying, that they don't have any people of color in their creative team or the advertisement staff that could have spoken up about such a blatantly disrespectful image to see that they would allow that to see the light of day. They don't have anybody that will step forward and say, oh, not correct. This is not right. You shouldn't release this. And if they do have people of color in those positions, it just goes to show that the culture that they doesn't bring racial sensitivity to the table. And it's not a priority at Andrew Christian. And I haven't shopped there for a while, but now I definitely will not be shopping there.
100% agree. I don't know how the word slave became the name of a whole brand when how is it that you could flirt with the BDSM culture. There's so many ways to flirt with that, work that into your branding. But with everything that's gone on this particular year, how
Yeah.
could you let that slide and call a brand and then put a model that is a person of color as your model and not know that you're not going to have backlash for that?
Yeah.
Is so tone deaf on a multitude of levels and shows that you didn't listen, you don't get it. And these things happen within our own culture. And let's be real about this. These are fun, flirty outfits that you can buy from Andrew Christian. They're not. Andrew Christian is not known in the BDSM culture. I guarantee you that, because I have been a part of the BDSM culture. I ran for Mr. New York Eagle. I've been to International Mr. Leather. I've been to Berlin, and these where true leather makers make a lot of this. I've enjoyed looking at a lot of Andrew Christian wear because I think it's fun, flirty, and serves a purpose. They're not known, though, for the BDSM culture. So I guarantee you, when you buy a harness from a lot of the leather makers from the places that I listed, they're not calling it slave and this and that. And I just find it tone deaf and trying to capitalize on something. And then somebody had to call them out to actually realize how stupid they were for putting that out there. And it just goes to show me, even in our own culture, how much work we have to do to educate, even within the LGBTQ oftentimes. And that's sad, but shows how much work we have to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it just reminds me of, I don't know if you remember when they had the kid in the H&M advertisements where he had the coolest monkey in the jungle and there's a little black child. And how does that get past so many people? Because it has to be approved so many times. How does that get past so many people to make it to get to the world? It's just confounds me.
Right. I'm
dumbfounded.
It's crazy when people have platforms like this and then that happens. Any remarks that you can read before we go on to our next product?
Jen says, it seems to happen way too often. How could they not see the correlation? It's beyond me. Matt says there are always other words to use. And Greg says, I will not be shopping AC anymore myself. So AC boycott, y'all.
Yeah, I agree. So our next story is really interesting, and it comes from you. This surprised me. Michael Cohen, according to The Advocate, Michael Cohen, we all know, who worked for Donald Trump, who went to prison, who was his, right-hand man. Michael Cohen admits Trump's loss in an OnlyFans video to a gay adult star, and the adult star was Matthew Camp. Well, you guys all know Matthew Camp, right? Michael Cohen professed his love for a gay porn star on OnlyFans. You say, what? Donald Trump's former attorney recorded a video from Matthew Camp, a request made through Cameo. And this is what I didn't know existed. So there's this service called Cameo. It's a service in which public figures make clips for fans with predetermined scripts for a price. So Cohen charges $100 per video. And apparently Matthew Camp spent the $100 to have Michael Cohen tweet out this statement. Camp then uploaded the Cameo video to his Twitter and his OnlyFans, a content which we all know. They were telling us about that. Quote, I just want to say how, this is Matthew Cohen saying his statement. I just want to say how amazing Matthew Camp is on OnlyFans. Cohen said in the short clip, having a blast, enjoying every minute with you guys. Good luck, love it, stay safe, stay COVID free. And again, OnlyFans, having a blast with him. Well, I don't know. First of all, I find the whole idea of this service Cameo, where you could I mean, everyone's got to make a buck, I guess. And
Yeah.
Michael Cohen, I guess, has himself on there. So for $100, we essentially, Cody, could go on there if we wanted to. We don't want to.
Hey,
Or I don't want to. But I don't need Michael Cohen going. I don't need to spend $100 for someone like, say, Michael Cohen to say, hey, Tag's podcast is really amazing and you guys are really amazing. And because I think that's so forced. If you're friends with me, you'll hear I use a word that is not a compliment. When I feel something's forced, I feel that, and I say that a lot to my friends, because whenever I feel something's forced, I think it's unreal. I think it's fake. I feel that person is not my friend anymore. There's nothing real about it. I don't like anything that's forced. I like real, genuine. I will tell you how I feel. This cameo thing to me is forced because Michael Cohen doesn't know who Matthew Camp is. He didn't really believe Matthew Camp had to pay that money for him to say a scripted message for what? Like, what's the whole point of it? I think the whole thing is ridiculous. And then it comes, Michael Cohen probably realized, oh my God, I just said something. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's brilliant. And I think that Matthew Camp is brilliant for it. Because it's kind of like a big middle finger. Because Michael Cohen, in my head, you mentioned Michael Cohen is so stupid that he doesn't even check who he's making these cameos for. Because you send it, from what I understand, you send it directly to the. They do whatever they.
Yeah, but who's the stupid one when you had to shell out $100? Is Michael Cohen going? Is to me Michael Cohen going? Listen, I already went to jail. I've already hit rock bottom. So if I have to record a message for a Matthew Camp, then I will do that because I need to make some coin because I need to make some money right now. I got a family and I don't really care. But you're going to have to pay for my message. To me, it's like, no. So to your point that Matthew Camp is got one over, I don't think so, because Matthew Camp had to pay $100 to this guy. And I think Michael Cohen was just like, whatever, bro. I will make the dumb message that you want me to say and pocket $100 from you and anything. And I think Twitter has not really been so receptive to Matthew Camp because he's all over the place at times. Yeah, I don't think that it really made an impact on any level. Do you disagree?
I think hilarious. I think basically at this point, and he's here. Is that hard for me? The answer
okay, well,
give $100. Him say that in and of itself shows how far this president.
We're losing you a little bit, Cody, but that's okay. We'll get it corrected next week. Jen says, is he that hard up for money? I think it's kind of an OnlyFans situation that maybe, and I would maybe do something like that. I don't know if I would, but I don't know. I disagree. I think it made absolutely no sense and to me, but that's just my thoughts on it. Anyways, we want to thank you for joining us. This episode gets repackaged tomorrow on tagspodcast.com, so you can listen to it. Check out our after show. We do an after show that comes out on Thursdays every week on our Patreon page. You get it if you become a Patreon member. You can go to patreon.com/talk about gay sex. But even if you don't want to do that, you can take our poll for free. And we have a poll every single week on the hot topics. And we want to hear from you because it helps us keep the conversation, the sexy conversation going. Cody Maurice Doggett, thank you so much.
Love you guys.
You can follow him at Mr. Maurice Mistah, Maurice, at Instagram. And follow us at Tags Podcast. Stay safe. Wear your mask for crying out loud, but keep it sexy. And we'll talk to you soon.